Stream, and today for this episode we are going to be going through the trade deadline and taking a look at our draft picks from the last episode. I'm pretty excited. I worked out some pretty good trades. I would say probably two blockbusters in here, and then a couple of other minor trades as well. But before we get into that, let's go take a look at the All-Stars and see which one of our guys made it. So our lone all-star was, no surprise, Eloy Jimenez. You see the numbers on the year, the 337, 378, 602 slugging, which is insane. An OPS just south of 1,000, but still an incredibly impressive year. We talked about his WAR in the last episode. He's at a 3.6, which I believe is a career high. Yes, it is a career high, in fact. Really been outstanding. He definitely earned his way to be an all-star starter, but unfortunately, he was our only representative. I do feel like Luis Robert got hosed a little bit, not able to make it in the center field position. Mike Trout is all about that name recognition. Well, I mean, the numbers are pretty outstanding. The average wasn't outstanding, but everything else looks pretty good. So I can get Mike Trout being over him, but Cedric Mullins is a little bit questionable. The numbers are terrible. I don't know if the Orioles had any other representatives, so maybe that was just their lone representative. No, they had Craig Kimbrell. So yeah, Luis Robert definitely got hosed, and I'm very, very frustrated by that. But I am very proud of Eloy and what he's been able to accomplish this year. So a very well-earned All-Star appearance for him. So after that, it's time to get to the trades and just showing you the guys on the block at the moment. Some of the positions I'm looking at, I was trying to focus on corner outfield, and then third base was a predominant focus. But if I could find any second baseman, I was also going after some of those guys. So without further ado, let's get to the trades. So I said in the last episode, one of the most difficult decisions I was going to have to make at the trade deadline was what to do with Eloy Jimenez. He has 2 years left on his contract after this season. Not too expensive to keep on the roster. He's always been a pretty solid hitter, but he's had trouble staying healthy. This year, he stayed healthy and he's elevated his game to a whole different level. That being said, I think he's limited a little bit defensively, and I worry about his health long term. So I think now is the time to try to strike while the iron is hot. So we are going to be trading away our all-star and best player to this juncture of the season, Eloy Jimenez. We're also going to be trading away Nicky Lopez. I didn't think Lopez was going to fetch any value with his numbers kind of tailing off over the last few weeks of the season, but the team I am trading Eloy Jimenez to was probably in need of another second baseman, middle infielder, and I wanted to get a little bit more in terms of value from them for the return of Eloy Jimenez. So I thought I'd throw Nicky Lopez in there just to kind of put the trade over the top. And the team I'm going to be trading this combination to is actually going to be the Baltimore Orioles. So the Orioles are right in the thick of things, as you would expect with the roster and a lot of young talent that they have. And, you know, this is a team that would be very interested in Eloy's services, especially with a couple of years left on his contract. They're looking for a DH guy at the moment. Currently, their DH options are okay, but not great. I think Jimenez really shores up their lineup. It gives them a nice pop, big power bat right in the middle of their lineup. So I'm going to get from them with a big return in this trade is going to be Colton Cowser. This guy, he is a graduated top 100 prospect. He was the 40th ranked prospect in MLB Pipeline's 2023 rankings. You see, that's sparing playing in his first season of 2023, and then it's a little bit of sparing playing in 2024 as well. You see the numbers, though, pretty solid there. Love the slash line there. I had a few options of guys I wanted to target. There was Colton Cowser, there was Heston Kjerstad, and then there was also Kobe Mayo. And Kobe Mayo actually has the highest potential, and he's also the youngest of all of them, but I don't love his defense. Looking at his fielding and reaction, he's probably going to end up at first base, and I didn't really want to draft. I didn't want to trade away Eloy because I don't love his defense and bring back another guy whose defense I don't love. So that's what led me to kind of settle on Colton Cowser. See, he's already 74 overall. I believe he has 83 potential, 24 years old, already in the majors, showing some flashes as well. Decent all-around bat. Good contact rates, good walk rate. Defense still has some room to grow. He'll become an average defender. Might consider him more of a left fielder in the future. We'll just see how our roster shakes out. And a little bit of speed to boot. So I'm very excited to get him. And then I wasn't satisfied just bringing back Kowser because I could have done a 1-to-1 trade for this. And what I wanted to do was look at kind of giving me some longer term options in the bullpen. And one guy I kind of honed in on was Juan Nunez. Got a lot of velocity with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Great Ks per 9. I might actually bump that stamina down a little bit to like 10 or 12 to give him like another like boost of like 1 to all of his per 9 numbers, because I'm not going to be needing him to be like an extended reliever or anything like that. He's going to be strictly like single inning with this makeup. He is currently the Orioles' 26th ranked prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. 23 years old, a little bit more advanced than I'd like, but I think we could see him in the majors maybe middle of next season, so not too far away. And as you see, the trade still favors the Orioles slightly, but if I try to add anybody else of any value, it goes back to favoring me, and they're going to want me to put back more, so I didn't worry about it. I'm pretty happy with this, and that is what I think a great blockbuster to kick off this trade deadline episode. So the next guy that I wanted to trade is somebody else talked about in a previous episode, and that was Andrew Benintendi. Benintendi has a little bit of a weird contract. He's got the 3 years, $45 million left after this season. Does that mean do you fetch more for that? Or are people still worried about some of the previous performances, and do you catch less in return for that? I think I get a pretty good return here, but you guys can let me know in the comment section what you think about it. Benintendi has had an outstanding year. He's hitting just south of 300. The on-base percentage is outstanding, and he's found a little bit of that power stroke once again. So I'm going to strike while the iron is hot. At 29 years old, he's going to be 30 next year. We're not ready to compete. This guy needs to go to a competing team, and he's not a good fit for us. But I do believe that he is a fit for a team like the Seattle Mariners. You take a look at the Seattle Mariners outfield situation, specifically in left field. They have Luke Raleigh. They have Cade Marlowe. Neither one of these guys is really killing it. Raleigh's hitting for some decent power out there in left field, but not getting on base, not hitting for good average. They need some guys to kind of provide some support around their superstar in Julio Rodriguez and some of their other offensive players on this squad. I think Benintendi could slot well in near the top of the order, hitting in front of and getting on base for Julio Rodriguez. So also in this trade, I'm going to be sending Kevin Pillar. The reason behind that is you looked at the two left fielders, Luke Raleigh and Cade Marlowe. They're actually both left-handed hitters, and so is Benintendi. So what they could use really is a guy who hits lefties pretty well, and that is Kevin Pillar. Pillar playing just against lefties this year has not had a great average year, but he's really been hitting well in the slugging department, hitting just above 200 in the ISO department. So Kevin Pillar will be a nice little bench piece for this Mariners team. And for them, the guy I most honed in on was the third baseman / shortstop, Ty Peets. I really like that he's got some good power. He's a left-handed batter, good speed, could definitely switch him back to shortstop. We'll just kind of see how some things shake out. He's currently MLB Pipeline's 7th ranked prospect for the Mariners, so I'm excited to get him. And then one of the reasons I also threw Pillar into this trade is I wanted a little bit more, and I wanted to go and get Michael Arroyo, 19-year-old second baseman. He is currently the Mariners' 9th ranked prospect. A little bit more of a contact guy, a little bit of speed to speak about, decent enough defense, good eye at the plate. You see the discipline's already at 75, puts ball play at a decent rate already with a 31 vision. So this is a guy who I believe he has something like 76-ish potential or something like that. So nothing crazy, but somebody that I'd like to get around and see what we can do with him. And that's it. That's going to be the second trade right there. I'm pretty excited, most specifically for Ty Peet. I think he could be an intriguing piece going forward. Now into the third trade. One of the guys I picked up to start the year was Eric Lauer. He hasn't been outstanding to date. You see the 4.52 ERA, but when you scroll over and you look at his FIP, he's a 3.55, and his advanced numbers, the K per 9, base on balls per 9, and home runs per 9, all look pretty solid. And at a 76 overall with like 77 or 78 potential, he fits nicely as like a back end of a rotation guy. And there's a couple of teams who really could use some back end rotation guys. And one of them actually was one of the contenders for the World Series, the Atlanta Braves. The top of the rotation is quite solid, obviously, with Spencer Strider and Max Fried. But after that, they don't have a starter over 76 overall, which is exactly what Eric Lauer is rated. And some of these guys haven't been that good at the major league level this year. Obviously, Chris Sale, he's been doing okay. But Huascar Ynoa, he just got called up. Bryce Elder, he's been just okay. So I think that the Braves could have some good use for a guy like Lauer. They also could have a use for a guy like Tanner Banks. Looking at their bullpen, they don't really have, outside of Aaron Bummer, a lefty that is in the majors, at least, that they can really rely on. Specifically, Tanner Banks slots in well as kind of a long relief guy. They don't have a hybrid starting pitcher like long man that they can use, and Tanner Banks has really filled that role for our squad really well. So I think he's going to be a good fit for what the Braves are looking to do. And in return from them, we're not getting anything too crazy, just a couple of younger prospects who were rated a little bit lower. So we're going to start with Sabin Ceballos. He's a 21-year-old third baseman, 61 overall. Overall, good bat. Love the discipline. Obviously, the vision is going to need some work. Defense, not too bad. I think he could stick at third base with those defensive numbers. He is MLB Pipeline's 18th ranked prospect for the Braves. And then we are also going to get their 28th ranked prospect, 22-year-old second baseman, 64 overall, Gerald Quintero. Again, a guy who's more profiled as a contact guy. You look at the defensive numbers, they're pretty solid. Speed and athleticism to boot, really short at 5'5", so that'll be pretty interesting. But you take a look at his AA stats, and actually not a bad year so far. So this is a kid I am very intrigued by as well. And again, you see, probably favoring the Braves more so than I would like, but I'll take it. I don't think Eric Lauer and especially Tanner Banks are anything that's too crazy of a value. So I'm just trying to get what I can in return, and these guys I'm happy to snag. And for our final trade, we are going to be sending Max Stassi, our starting catcher, at least against righties. He's not had an outstanding year, but I mean, a 245 average, 336 slugging, it's okay. He's a decent enough defender. He really profiles, I think, really well as a backup catcher. And there's a team that has a couple of young catchers on their roster that could really use his veteran leadership, and that is the Pittsburgh Pirates. You see they do have Henry Davis here, who is an outstanding hitter, but not the greatest defensive catcher. And then they have Endy Rodriguez, who is a little bit more defense and a decent enough bat. But these guys are the only two catchers on their roster, and they're actually both in the starting lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they do not have a bench catcher. So it really does make sense that they would want somebody like Max Stassi, even though he's only a 72 overall and not killing it on the field. And for the Pirates, I'm not going to get anything too crazy in return. I'm just going to go get Hunter Stratton, a 27-year-old relief pitcher with a little bit of major league experience. 12 innings last year. He had a decent enough ERA. What was his FIP last year? 4.5, so nothing too crazy. It does have a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, which I'm excited about. Has a cutter as well and a slider, so a nice little makeup. Good strikeouts per 9. I think he's like a 73, 74 potential, so not a whole lot of room left for growth, but somebody I think that could provide some good value for us. And I'm excited because I'm trying to get some at least transition bullpen arms and stuff like that. So not a prospect anymore, but you see it's almost a dead even trade, and I think a nice fair 1-to-1 swap. And that's going to be it. That's going to be all the trades we are going to make. I am pretty excited about that Eloy Jimenez trade. I think Colton Cowser is going to slide in right away and be a starter for us. I also like the return of Ty Pete for Andrew Benintendi. And then I got a couple of other intriguing pieces. I think that Ceballos and Quintero and Arroyo are all intriguing pieces, even though their potentials aren't super high. And I think Nunez and Stratton could be intriguing pieces for my bullpen in the future. So I'm going to go hop out of here real quick and fix up my roster because it's going to be a giant mess now after all these trades. And then when I come back, I'm going to show you how the lineups are looking, how the rotations are looking, and then we're going to go check out the draft prospects. All right, see y'all in a minute. We are back. That took a little bit of time to kind of sort out the roster. Definitely had a lot to move, not just at the major league level, but across all three levels, AAA and AA as well. But I think I like what we got looking going forward. Obviously, we're not going to be very good. We are pretty bad. As you can see, everything is just shot right now. But that's okay. We're building for the long run. We're not trying to tank. We're just like, hey, listen, we're not going to do it this year. We're not going to do it next year. Maybe year 3. Definitely by year 4. My goal whenever I do these rebuilds is I want to make the playoffs by year 4. So we'll see if we can go on that. So let's go check out the lineups and rotations, and then we'll go look at the draft picks. Okay, so this is going to be a lineup against righties, and it's not too much changes against lefties. But anyways, let's talk about the righty lineup here. I did move Yohan Moncada up to the first leadoff spot. A little weird considering how poorly he's played, but I don't know. I like a high discipline guy in that first slot, so I don't know. Maybe we could jumpstart his bat up there. Dominic Fletcher staying in the 2-hole. Luis Robert Jr. staying in the 3-hole. Gavin Sheets going to be power bat in the 4-hole, hopefully. Not feeling confident about that. Andrew Vaughn is going to be playing DH. We're going to be both of these guys in the lineup against righties. Not going to overtax Colton Cowser. We're going to leave him in that 6-hole. Jose Rodriguez, everyday player, in that 7-hole at second base. Shoemake is our shortstop. And then we did call up Carlos Perez. Put him on the 40-man roster, and he is going to be our starting catcher against righties and our DH against lefties. On the bench here, Brett Phillips got a call up as well. Had to add him to the 40-man roster. Danny Mendick is like our backup utility man. He also will be playing against lefties in right field. Actually, I want to make that left field because he doesn't have a very strong arm. Martin Maldonado still playing against lefties as the catcher, and then we also called up Lenyn Sosa. All right, let's go take a look at the pitchers. And this is going to be our pitching staff after the deadline. We'll probably do some moving and shaking depending on how guys perform. No changes in the top 3 with Crochet, Soroka, and Toussaint. We did call up Drew Thorpe. He is going to get the call, and the next episode is going to actually be a player lock with him. Really good performances at AAA. Was able to consolidate a lot of his gains, so I'm excited to see what he can do down the stretch here. And then Chris Flexen for now is holding on to that 5th slot. We're looking to get maybe Nick Destrini and or Jairo Iriarte up into the majors at some point down the stretch, which will probably kick Chris Flexen out of the slot. In the bullpen here right now, still holding on. Cousins has kind of started to slow down a little bit. Some other guys are looking to take his spot. We did call up Jared Schuster, who has those numbers with 2-year starts on the season. Let's see how he does in a long relief role. He had been pitching pretty well at AAA. Brebbia and Leisure, no changes in my top 2 middle relief guys. Hunter Stratton is going to slot into that 3rd position there. No changes in the lefties with Peralta, and then Kopech and Wilson are where they were before. So, all right, let's go check out those rookies now. So here's a look at the draft picks from this year. A little bit annoyed by the Barry Ryan thing. He was a scouted potential of 86 to 91, and he literally was the lowest potential he could possibly be. So that's a little bit frustrating. That being said, I do love his overall makeup. He's not a great defender, so that's a little bit disappointing, but love his athleticism, love the bat. He should profile very nicely as a left fielder. I think that's probably what I'll switch him to. So the way I do draft picks is I'll knock down his potential by 3, so he'll be an 83 potential, which is okay. You like a little bit more out of a top 5 draft pick, but it is what it is. And then he will start at a 72 overall, so he'll be almost MLB ready. We might see him in the tail end of next season. So pretty excited about this kid nonetheless. Very advanced bat, which is nice. Then we got Doug Gonzalez, who is a pretty solid potential at 85, so he'll be an 82 potential. And since he is 18, he'll be starting at a 60 overall. Love the velocity at 99 miles an hour. Obviously, going to need to do some work on those hits per 9 and the home runs per 9, but the baseline balls per 9 and Ks per 9 are in some pretty good spots to start, so I'm pretty excited about him. Gregory Brock wasn't quite good enough as I was hoping. He's very low overall at a 51, and he's going to have a potential of 74. Not a terrible potential. I was looking for a little bit more out of him for a starting overall. That being said, I do love the overall profile. Some good athleticism, decent enough offense, decent enough defense. So he's going to be pretty far away, but we'll see him maybe in like 2 years in AA. Maybe he can catch some lightning in a bottle. Douglas White actually turned out to be a pretty good pick. I didn't think he'd have great potential, and he's going to end up with 76 with us. So I'm pretty excited about this kid. He was more of a defensive speed threat kind of guy, and I like that. His bat's going to need some work, but I do like how his power is kind of leading his contact a little bit, so it's going to give us a little bit more bang for our buck with that. So yeah, I like Douglas White. And then some of the guys we got auto-drafted were Charles Hyde and Mike Murdoch. Charles Hyde I knew was going to be a solid potential. I just didn't like his makeup. He's a very soft-hitting guy, doesn't have really any arm strength, but good potential for him. He's going to be 82. Probably could turn him into a nice little trade chip. Or if we can get those power numbers up, maybe he can provide something for us. And then Mike Murdoch, he's a 48 overall, so he's really far down there. And he's going to have 74 potential. So nothing too crazy. We'll see what he does once he's able to crack through AA in like 5 years, because it's going to take him a while to get to become good enough to be in the AA with that 48 overall starting point. And then finally, our last draft pick, Terrell Robinson. He's not going to be very good. He's actually going to have borderline F potential with 59. I'll keep him around for the show. Actually, I might. You know what? At 43 overall, I'm probably just going to cut him straight away from the start. So, anyways, that's, I can't complain too much about this draft class. I hate having a top 5 pick not be closer to 90. So I suppose that's a little bit frustrating. But I'd say the overall outlook from the class is pretty solid. I really like the first 4, Barry Ryan, Doug Gonzalez, and Douglas White. I really liked. I'm a little bit disappointed in Gregory Brock. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. And again, Charles Hyde could turn out to be a nice little trade chip, or could even turn out to be something for us. So anyways, that's going to be all I have for y'all in this episode. I will see you guys here for this Drew Thorpe Major League debut start against the hated Minnesota Twins. This one looks like it'll be on the road, so we'll be in Minnesota. Although it could be home. I cannot tell anything about those differences between home and road. That is just terrible, the differences in colors up there. But in the meantime, between time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces.